The PKK is a Marxist-Leninist and Stalinist communist organization. The PKK terror going on in the southwest of Turkey today is actually communist terror in the flesh. Statements by the head of the separatist organization make this perfectly clear. For example, in his message to celebrate the 13th anniversary of the founding of the separatist organization, its leader said, "As the best answer to those who say socialism has collapsed, communism has collapsed, we are saying, on the contrary, the most powerful, truest, and greatest form of communism has taken place in the PKK." A speech on May 1, 1982 represents one of the many occasions on which the leader of the separatist organization openly states that the PKK is a Marxist-Leninist organization. No matter what unsuitable conditions it may live under, it must be based on the objective force of the working class, and on Marxism-Leninism, its science and guide to action. And note that the reason for our existence is totally grounded in that fact. If those tribal walls, those feudal fences had not been breached, Marxism-Leninism, the modern and most revolutionary way of thinking, would never have entered our heads. They themselves say that their party is a communist one, and all the laws of communism are set out and clarified in the party constitution. They make communist propaganda day and night. Every action, every slogan, and every declaration by the terrorist organization is communist. Striking statements at the organization's founding conference and on its website makes their devotion to Marxism perfectly clear. Marxist-Leninist theory must be taken to heart. Leading cadres must frequently refer to Marxism. They must take that teaching to heart in order to make the implementation of Marxism their starting point. We will adopt socialism, rather as a guide to action in the resolution of the political problem. As the representatives of such a teaching, and the adherents of such a teaching, we shall do our duty by applying it, as the most important precondition of the teaching, to the question of the political administration of the country, and as a means of, and guide to, bringing down the existing administration. PKK terrorism in Turkey is one of the major communist uprisings in the world today. It is the greatest communist uprising in the history of the Turkish Republic. It is a Marxist-Leninist, Stalinist uprising. The fact that the organization has a Marxist-Leninist structure is made clear, both in indictments by prosecutors and in Turkish intelligence MIT reports, and in rulings by the courts. Indeed, the fact that for many years the organization used the hammer and sickle motif, the best-known symbol of communism, on its flag, is sufficient proof of this. The emblem was then altered by the organization for strategic and tactical reasons. Abdullah Öcalan, the leader of the separatist organization, says that the PKK's ideological foundation is based on Marxism and Leninism in another statement. The PKK has experienced a development in line with the Marxist-Leninist tradition. It is clear that from then on it will take shape on the basis of that legacy, which is inseparable in the way that flesh is joined to bone. Lenin represented it in the 1900s, and I represent the 21st century socialism, and I am building the new socialism by fighting real socialism and imperialism. Apo, Abdullah Öcalan, does what Lenin said. The communists in the southeast are doing what Lenin said. It is a religion, and they are applying that religion. They are observing the practices of the Marxist-Leninist religion. Öcalan, the separatist leader, praises the bloodthirsty communist leaders who slaughtered millions of people. The heroes of the proletariat, Marx and Engels, its theoretical and political genius, Lenin, and its practical masters, Stalin, Ho Chi Minh, and Mao, and many national and internationalist heroes marching under their leadership. These great heroes who stir up and organize mankind's consciousness of freedom and produce the armies known as people's armies occupy a truly great place in the history of mankind. Like the communist leaders he so admires, the leader of the separatist organization ruthlessly resorts to violence and terror. because that is what Marxism, Leninism, and Darwinism base their ideology and command on. Lenin explicitly stated that terror is an inseparable component of the communist ideology. The phenomenon in which we are interested is the armed struggle. It is conducted by individuals and by small groups. Armed struggle pursues two different aims, which must be strictly distinguished. In the first place, this struggle aims at assassinating individuals, chiefs, and subordinates in the army and police. In the second place, it aims at the confiscation of monetary funds, both from the government and from private persons. In other words, he says, of course people bomb everywhere, kill people, and shed blood, and asks, is this not what communism necessitates? Lenin describes how indispensable terror and anarchy are for communism again in another passage. We cannot reject terror, as it is the one form of military action which may be perfectly suitable, or even essential, at a definitive juncture in battle. What does Lenin say? He says there is but one way for Marxism, Leninism to be put into practice, only one way. By terror, he says. Violence, revolutionary violence, meaning communist violence. He says it is not possible for communism to spread over the world without terror. It cannot spread without violence, he says. He says you cannot establish the dictatorship of the proletariat without killing police and gendarmes, bombing police stations, robbing banks, and breaking into rich people's homes, killing them and stealing their money. He says the only way to the dictatorship of the proletariat, for communism to grow, for a Marxist communist movement to grow, is through terror. He says that if you do the opposite, you are deviating from the Marxist-Leninist line.
Aksini yaparsanız diyor, Marksist-Leninist çizgiden sapmış olursunuz diyor.
The PKK primarily teaches those it will raise as terrorists dialectical materialism and Darwinism, the basis of this philosophy. There is no ethnic movement here, only a communist and irreligious one. The impression of Kurdish nationalism is entirely intended to mislead the people of the region. That is why a very powerful anti-Darwinist, anti-materialist, and anti-communist intellectual propaganda in all of Turkey is so necessary. There can be no materialism where there is no Darwinism, and there can be no communism where there is no materialism. There can be no PKK where there is no communism. The solution to the PKK is the destruction of Darwinism, materialism, and communism by means of scientific methods, and the foundation of the Turkish Islamic Union without delay. There is one solution, anti-materialist and anti-communist scientific activity. Once that is done, the communist jugular vein will be ripped open. What is the solution to an ideology? Eliminating the ideology. The only answer is to eliminate the belief, and that requires scientific activity. It will totally resolve the issue and end it in a very short space of time. They seek a solution to terror, to the PKK. There are 100 diseases, but only one cure. The whole world is now sick. But it can be cured with one single medicine. These 100 diseases will all disappear when a Turkish Islamic Union is established. The solution to the PKK is the destruction of Darwinism, materialism, and communism by means of scientific methods, and the foundation of the Turkish Islamic Union without delay.